Everyone. Thank you for joining me for today's webinar. My name is Liz Rosbach. I am the Assistant Manager for Community Engagement for the Washington Education Savings Plans, and I've been working for the savings plans for about 8 years now, and we are just one of many programs that are part of the Washington Student Achievement Council that supports student success. And today I'm going to cover the state-sponsored 529 education savings plans, the Get Prepaid Tuition Plan, as well as our investment plan called WA529 Invest. And this year we went through some really positive changes. And some of you may recognize that we changed our name from the Washington College Savings Plans to the Washington Education Savings Plans to be more inclusive of all education pathways. And we also changed our program manager for our investment plan to TIA, which has now been rebranded as WA529 Invest. We also had some updates to our website as well. So if you haven't had a chance to check those out, please do so. And some of the things I'm going to cover today, though, are what is a 529 plan, the differences between our prepaid plan and our investment plan, the tax advantages and what kind of expenses you can use your 529 plan for. And then I also will cover how to open and use your account, some tax advantages, gifting limits, the new FAFSA rules, and the new Roth IRA rollover rules and resources. And this presentation is really designed to be around 30 minutes with some time for Q&A at the end. And I will also email a copy of this in PDF format out to you because it's embedded in with a lot of helpful links. And hopefully at the end, you'll just know a little bit more about these plans so you can make a decision about what's right for your family. Because a lot of people that I talk to when we're at community events say that they just wish they knew about these programs when their children were younger. So let's get started. Now, saving for higher education expenses is important for many reasons, but the main reasons really are here on this slide. And first, it's really about student success, because there was a study that was done by the Center for Social Development that indicated that a child that has a dedicated college savings account or higher education savings account, such as a 529 plan, are more likely to graduate from high school and pursue something additionally after high school, like additional education or career training. And our agency's primary goal is to get students ages 19 to 44 to have some kind of post-secondary credential. And the 529 plans really support this mission. And the second reason is to increase job and career opportunities. According to the Center of Education and the Workforce, around 70 to 72% of job openings nowadays require some kind of training beyond high school. So whether your student chooses to attend a four-year college or university, or a community or technical school, or even an apprenticeship program, the education that they pursue will be invaluable for them to secure a job and start a career. And then the third reason is to mitigate the student loan debt crisis. So college and career training expenses are increasing anywhere between 3 and 5% each year, and a large majority of financial aid packages come in the form of student loans rather than grants, and many students are overburdened with excess student loan debt for years to come, long after they graduate, and it can affect a lot of our life goals. So like buying a house or saving for retirement or going on vacation. And one of the other things that I want to mention is that saving for higher education expenses can also give you options, because financial aid does not always cover everything that you might need to be able to attend to go to a certain school that you want to. And so by having a 529 account or an education savings account, you can help fill the gaps so that your children can go to the schools that they want to. The current student loan debt right now is at $1.7 trillion nationwide, and Washington, along with other 529 plans across the country, are part of a national initiative to provide education, information, and resources about the importance of saving for higher education expenses to reduce that student loan debt. So, what is a 529 plan? And the 529 itself is just the IRS code designating it as an education savings plan, but 529 plans have been around since the 80s, and they are tax advantaged or education savings plans that are really designed to encourage people to save for higher education expenses. Now, the money that goes into these accounts is post-tax dollars, but the accounts grow tax-free and will remain tax-free as long as you use them for qualified education expenses at eligible institutions. And that can be not just Washington, but also nationwide and many schools abroad. Now, at the bottom of this slide is a link to collegesavings.org, and collegesavings.org is an independent site of all 529 plans nationwide. It's a really great tool and resource. There's a lot of information and blog posts that have been written by other professionals at other 529 plans across the country. There is also a tool in which you can compare different 529 plans to one another, so check it out. Now, these plans are so flexible, you can use them for so many things. So let's go over what qualified education expenses actually means. So it includes everything here on this slide and just a little bit more. So first of all, you can use your plan to pay for tuition. So it could be full or part-time tuition, regular academic year, or summer program. It also doesn't have to be just for undergraduate. You can use it for graduate programs as well. And you also can use your plan to pay for fees. So, state mandated fees, which are operating, building, service, and activity fees provided by the state of Washington, you can use your funds to pay for that. The state mandated fees are also part of our guarantee with our GET prepaid tuition plan. But you also can use your funds to pay for college specific fees. So, college specific fees are fees that are imposed by the school themselves. So, it might be like a technology fee, a library fee, a recreation fee, and you absolutely can use your funds to pay for that. These fees are not included in the state mandated fees as far as the guarantee on the GAP prepaid plan, but you still can use your funds to pay for that. Now, you can use your funds to pay for on or off campus room and board. So the student themselves just has to be attending school at least half time, and the amount cannot exceed the room and board allowance that's calculated by the college or university on their website. So go check out the cost of attendance budget for the school that your child is planning to attend, and whatever they list for room and board allowance, just do not exceed that amount, or you could create a taxable event. But your child could be living not just on campus, but in a sorority, a fraternity. They could even be living in an apartment, or they can be living at home for you to reimburse for that. Now, next, you can use your funds to pay for books, supplies, and required equipment. So it's any book, supplies, or equipment that the school requires for the student to be able to take that class. And that means computers, software, and internet access, or the purchase of a computer or any kind of peripheral equipment that or internet that your child needs while they are enrolled, um, and can be used by the 529 plan. Now, you also can use your funds to pay for special needs. So, expenses of a student with special needs that are in connection with their higher education. It could be tools or services like hardware or mobility equipment. In some cases, it could be transportation if related to a student's special needs. Now, you also can use your 529 plan for K through 12 private school tuition, so up to $10,000 a year at an elementary or secondary public or private or religious school. Just note that our program specifically is not designed to send payments to K through 12 schools, so you might have to ask for a reimbursement in that case. And if you're in another state, just check with that state to see if you're able to do that because every state's rules are different around that. And you also can use your funds for a registered apprenticeship programs. So, certain expenses that are associated with apprenticeship programs that are registered with the US Department of Labor. So, like books or maybe personal protective equipment or something like that. And now you can use your 529 plan to pay off up to $10,000 worth of student loan debt, and that is per student per lifetime. And a new IRS rule that just came up last January was that you now, if you have money left over in your account, or maybe your child doesn't use your account for education and you don't want to refund it, you can roll it into a Roth IRA for them. Now, just keep in mind, though, I will have a link to the details behind that at the end of the slideshow, but there are limits to that. There's also annual limits. So those are things you're going to want to pay attention to. Now, here's a list of all of the eligible education institutions, and it's everything here. So it's a four-year college or university, a community college. It can also be public, private, technical, vocational, nationwide, and abroad. Just note that when we say that it has to be an eligible education institution, we mean that that school must have a federal school code or accept federal financial aid from the United States. So one of the things that you can do is you can call up the school themselves, or you can check FAFSA and enter the school, and it'll provide you with their school code. Now, first of all, every state in the country sponsors a 529 plan, and some states have more than one. And in Washington, we have two different types. And there are also two different types of 529 plans. There is something called a prepaid tuition plan and a traditional type college saving or education savings plan. And only about 8 or 9 states have prepaid plans like Washington does, but every state sponsors the traditional 529 plan. Um, and there's also something called a private college 529 plan for the families that are specifically planning for their child to attend a private college or university. Now, in the state of Washington, we have a prepaid and investment plan, as you know. Our prepaid tuition plan is called GET, and it's been around for over 26 years. It stands for Guaranteed Education Tuition. And this plan allows people to purchase or pre-purchase future tuition at a predetermined rate today. So if an account owner purchases anywhere between 1 and 4 years worth of tuition, um, by the time the child reaches college age, the plan itself agrees to pay out at whatever tuition rates are at that time. So, how much tuition grows during that time really depends on tuition inflation. Whereas with the traditional 529 education savings plans, like our plan, WA529 Invest, these are different because than prepaid plans because their growth is tied to the market. So, and it's based upon investment performance. So it typically consists of some stocks and mutual funds, and they fluctuate very similarly to your 401k plan. Now, within the two types of 529 plans, there's something called direct sold and advisor sold. And that's something that you might hear a lot. Well, direct sold just means that you pick the investments yourself, you manage it yourself, whereas advisor sold means that there's an advisor attached to the plan, and you might pay a little bit more for the advisor to advise you. Most 529 savings plans offer a wide variety of age based investment options in which the underlying investments become more conservative the closer the student gets close to college age. And then there is also something called risk based investment options where the underlying investments remain in the same fund or combination of funds, regardless of the age of the student beneficiary. And you can make changes to those types of investments up to 2 times per year. And that's an IRS rule. Now let's talk about the differences between the prepaid plan and the investment plan. So first of all, for our GAP program or the prepaid plan, there is a residency requirement. So at the time that you open the account, either you or the child has to be a resident of Washington State. Now, it is absolutely okay if after you open the account, you move to another state, you can still keep your GAP plan and you can still continue to contribute to it if you want to. But at the time, one or the other has to be a resident of Washington State. Now, with Y529 Invest, our investment plan, there is no residency requirement, and you can be living anywhere at any state at any time when you open that plan. Now, for the GAP prepaid plan, there is an enrollment period, and it is November 1st through May 31st annually. Whereas with Y529 Invest, their enrollment is open all year round. Now, the value with the GAP prepaid plan is tied to a guarantee. So it's tied to the growth of the highest public university in Washington, and that has largely been the University of Washington for many, many years. Sometimes it's Washington State University, but mostly it's been UW. So that plan guarantees to keep up with the value of the University of Washington. So even though it keeps pace with that school, you can use it at any school anywhere in the country, as long as it's a eligible institution. Now, with the Y529 investment plan, the value is tied to investment performance. Now, with Get, it works a little bit differently because you are putting money into your Get account and you might be putting aside $25 a month, $50 a month, or whatever your family can afford per month. And when you're putting money into your account, we are also converting your dollars to units. And the units is just a way for us to measure the value of your account. So if you were to buy one unit in this past year, the unit was $123.76 because tuition at UW was $12,376. And what that basically means is for every unit you buy at $123.76 this past year. If tuition later on down the road was $20,000 a year, that means each of your units would be worth $200. Now, the unit price does usually change every single year, and the unit price will be announced this fall when we reopen for open enrollment on November 1st. Now, with WA529 Invest, that is investment based. You can open your account for as little as $1, and the investment performance just changes periodically with that one. With the GAP program, when you open the plan, you're just going to decide how and how much do you want to save. And everybody sets a goal for a different amount, but you also can save in a variety of ways. So state of Washington employees are allowed to do payroll direct deposit if they want to. Check with your, if you're not with the state of Washington, check with your employer to see if they will allow payroll direct deposit. And if they don't, you still can set it up where you have it deducted from your account through bill pay or something like that. With WA529 Invest, you're first going to choose your investment portfolio, and you can choose the first one would be enrollment year. That's a popular option. It's kind of the set it and forget it option. It will ask you how old your child is. And a majority of the investments at the very beginning will be more aggressive, and then they'll self adjust to get more conservative the closer your child gets to college age. You can also pick a multi fund, a single fund, or a guaranteed investment option. You can make changes 2 times a year, as I mentioned before. And I did link the program details booklet that also goes over the different investment options for WA529 Invest, so you can make a decision about what's right for you. And with that plan, also just decide how much and how you want to save. Now, with the GAP program, you can buy up to 800 units per lifetime per student. So technically, if they went to a four-year college or university, that would be 400 units for tuition and 400 units for room and board. But you don't have to use it for one or the other. You can use your funds for any qualified expense. When you first begin to use your account or the units first become available, we will release 200 units per academic year, and then whatever you don't use just rolls over to the following year. Now, the maximum contribution for WA529 Invest is 500,000, and if you do have a GET prepaid plan and a WA529 Invest plan for one child, which you can do, the maximum contribution is 500,000 between the two of them. Now, a lot of people will ask us which one of these plans is better. And usually I say, neither is really better. It really just depends on you, what plan you feel more comfortable with. Some people really love the GAP program because the GAP program is slow growth. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's really designed to give you peace of mind over time. And it's designed to provide you with this guarantee that it will keep pace with, the highest public university. So you will always have that at the end and always be comparable to UW's tuition, no more, no less, right? And then there's some people who really prefer the investment option because it has the potential to grow faster, even though it also can go down. It kind of ebbs and flows. So it's really up to you. And there are also a lot of people that decide to diversify their funds and open up both kinds of accounts for one child. Now, anyone can contribute to an account for a student beneficiary, and 529 plans make a great gift. Now, your family and friends can contribute in a variety of ways. If you open up an account, just let us know so that we can send you a gifter link and you can send it out to your friends and family and get them to put money in it during birthdays and holidays to help build up the value of your plan over time, right? And so you can make contributions, or your family can make contribution in a variety of ways. They can do it through bill pay, also ACH. They can also just send in a check. They can also just do a one-time contribution if they want to online. So, and then secondly, I want to talk about the gift tax exclusion. Now, there is a lifetime gift tax, but if you stay within these limits for your 529 plan, then you can avoid having to report the gift. So, first of all, you can contribute up to 19,000 a year as a single person to a student beneficiary to be exempt from the gift tax limit, or 38,000 if you're a married couple. Or secondly, if you have a larger amount to give all at once, you can give up to 95,000 as a single person or 190,000 if married per beneficiary. And then they average the contribution over a 5-year period without being included in the gift tax limit. So the way that you can do that is just make no other gifts to that beneficiary for the next 5 years. Now, make sure you always consult with a tax um, a tax professional or financial advisor if this applies to you. Now, one of the advantages of having a 529 plan is how they are looked at by financial aid. So, the FAFSA, which is free application for federal student aid, treats parent owned accounts more favorably because they are considered a parental asset and not income. So, when they're determining your family contribution amounts, FAFSA considers about 5.64% of the total 529 account. So, for example, if you had $10,000 in your 529 plan, they would consider $564 of that when determining your family contribution. Now, there were some changes to FAFSA the past year in which students that have grandparent owned 529 accounts no longer have to claim them as income in the second year. It used to be that if their grandparent was contributing to their education with a 529 plan, they had to claim it as income in the second year, and that is no longer the case. I have linked this on the slide for you to read more about that. Just keep in mind, though, that there are about 200 independent colleges in the United States that use something called a college scholarship service profile to award their institutional aid, and they may consider a grandparent owned account. There are links embedded also that will take you to FAFSA on this slide as well. Now, when you're getting started, just keep in mind that only one person can be the account owner, just like any other investment account. So pick the person, if you are married or you have a partner, pick the person that wants to manage the 529 account. And then what you can do is you can list your partner or spouse, excuse me, as an information release person. Now, you will need the name, address, date of birth, and social security number for all the parties that you're opening an account for. And you also want to list an account owner survivor. And we'll ask you to do that in case something were to happen to you, that person can take over the account and manage it for you. Now, when you're getting ready to open an account, you're just going to go to 529.wa.gov. It only takes about 5 minutes to open the account. And when you're done, you will get an email confirmation from us welcoming you. And we will also give you some ideas about how to save or how to manage your savings. And don't forget about the gifter links that you can send to friends and family. And just make sure to, review your account annually to see if you're on target for your goals. Now, a lot of people ask us, how much should I save? And it's a really individual choice, and a lot of people save in a variety of different ways. So, first of all, the next step after you open your account is decide how often you will contribute in order to grow your savings. And it's overwhelming to think about saving for it all, right? And you don't have to. It's really about just limiting the amount of debt that your child has later. And so it really depends on what your goals are. Some people save for room and board. Some people I talk to save for 1 year's worth of tuition. And some people just save for books and supplies. So you really have several options. And first, you can set it up where there are automatic recurring contributions. So you can set that up where you are contributing monthly by bill pay, or you can mail in a check or something like that, or an ACH even. Or you can do one-time contributions. I do talk to people that contribute one time per year during maybe tax time. When they get a refund, they will contribute to the account at that time. There are also people that will contribute from their paycheck, which is, remember, that's post-tax dollars that goes in. But ask your employer if they will set up payroll direct deposit, and then you can kind of set it and forget it that way. And then also don't forget about the gifts. Reach out to friends and family and ask them to contribute to your account to help build it up for you over time. Now, when you get ready to use your account, just log in and make either what's called a direct payment request, or you can request a reimbursement. And when you're making a direct payment request, you're requesting that the plan sends the payment directly to the school for you. And you can do that for tuition and room and board. But if they're staying off campus, of course, that's something you're going to need to reimburse for. If you know how much it's going to be, you can reimburse ahead of time, or like some people I talk to, they charge this on their credit card and to earn air miles, and then they'll reimburse themselves. Just make sure that if you reimburse yourself, you do it in the same calendar year that you incurred the expense. Now, remember that We do not ask for receipts in Washington state, but other states' plans may ask for receipts before they will approve a withdrawal. So just keep that in mind. It's up to you to manage your account, and that's why we don't keep track of any kind of receipts for you. Now, some people do a little bit of both. They'll send a payment to the school, and then maybe they'll send a request to have a reimbursement go to their student if their student paid for books out of their pocket or something like that. So just keep in mind there's many ways to do this, and there's a link to eligible expenses at the bottom of this slide as well. Now, these are some of the most common questions we get all the time from people. And really, the first one should be, what if my child decides not to go to college? Because that's the most common question I get all the time, because we never know what our children are going to do later in life. And maybe they won't use it for education, or maybe they won't go to college, but maybe they'll do a registered apprenticeship program or something like that. But ultimately, if your child doesn't use it at all, you can refund it. You can give it to another student to use, or maybe another child in your household. Maybe you want to use it yourself for continuing education, you can do that. Or if you would want to, you can also roll it into a Roth IRA for them as long as you're staying within the limits. And there are some rules around that too, like how long you've had the account. So you have to have had it in the same beneficiary's name for 15 years. Another question we get all the time is, what if my student receives a scholarship? You could reimburse yourself up to the amount of scholarship per year, although that's not tax-free, or you can just hold on to the funds for graduate school or something like that. Remember that children do not always go right when they're 18. Sometimes they wait to decide, so you could hold on to it. But again, you can also transfer it to another family member. But ultimately, if you refund your 529 account, just keep in mind that the IRS will tax you a 10% federal tax on the earnings portion only, and then the earnings themselves are added to income and taxed as regular income. And if you want to know what that's going to look like for you, you can always call our customer service number, and they will run the numbers for you, because some people do that so that they can decide when a good time for them to do the refund is during that specific tax year, if you get what I mean. So you can always refund both of those accounts. Now, if you are already doing some of these things by diversifying your savings, you can also open up a 529 plan to receive like additional benefits. So you could just complement your savings with a 529 plan. So first of all is the Coverdell Education Savings Accounts, or ESA. These accounts grow tax-free. You can put maximum $2,000 per year, and you can only change the beneficiary name if the child is under 30. Now, with custodial accounts, that is a uniform gift to minor or uniform trust to minor. What that means is that means that when the account is open, the child is the account owner, and the parent or the guardian manages the account for them until they become of age. In Washington, that is 18, which means if you had an account like that, they would become in full control of the money when they're 18. And in some states, though, the of age amount is 21. So you want to check if you have an account like this in another state. There's also something called Roth IRA. Probably many of you are familiar with that. So there's contribution limits and income limits on Roth IRAs, but you can pull the money from the account to use for education. Keep in mind, it is possible that FAFSA will look at that like income, so you want to check before. And then also the Gerber Life Plan is something that is a insurance plan, but you can use it for education. It does not grow tax-free, but there is a link to the bottom of this slide that will list out all these different additional ways to save and whether or not they grow tax-free and some of the different parameters for each type of savings. And then, of course, there's always your bank or a credit union. Now, these are just some additional resources for you. First is our website, the Washington Education Savings Plans, and second is the Washington Student Achievement Council, which is our parent agency. So we have a student loan advocate there. We administer the Washington College Grant, and we have other information about scholarships that we need more children to enroll in. and a lot of different resources for you. So also check out that website. The College Savings Plan Network is an independent source of all 529 plans. And of course, IRS Publication 970, Chapter 7 is all surrounding the IRS parameters around 529 plans. And we do have a link for federal school code search. When you're searching on the federal school code page to see if a school is qualified, under state, um, if you're looking for an out of state school, just type in foreign, and then you'll be able to search for schools that are out of the country. And then also we have links to the apprenticeship program for Washington State and also nationwide. And then we also have a link to the new FAFSA changes regarding grandparent-owned 529 plans and also the Roth IRA rollover option. We have something called the Knowledge Cafe. It is our virtual learning center, and you can register to watch more webinars or and ask questions live, or you can just watch a pre-recorded one when you have time. We also have some videos called 529 and 529 minutes in which you can just watch short snippets of information when you also have time. So this is also our contact information for the Get Prepaid Tuition Plan, our 1-800 number. You also can email them to as well. They're fantastic. And then also WA529 Invest. Now it's time for questions, but I just want to thank you all for being here today. I appreciate it. If you have any questions for us, please feel free to reach out. But otherwise, I appreciate you being here, and I hope you all have a really great day and you learned a little bit more about Washington's 529 plans. Thank you.